at least 15 killed in suicide bombing at army camp in Somalia. Mogadishu, June 15, Reuters. At least 15 people were killed on Tuesday in a suicide bombing as recruits lined up outside an army camp in the Somali capital Mogadishu, a Reuters witness who counted the bodies at Medina Hospital said. By Faisal Omar and Abdirahman Hussain. Officials at the hospital confirmed the dead were killed in an attack earlier in the day at a checkpoint outside the General Digaban military training camp in the capital. There was no immediate claim of responsibility. Islamist group Al-Shabaab frequently carries out bombings in the Horn of Africa country. Dozens of people crowded outside Medina Hospital searching for their missing relatives. My son is dead. I have seen with my eyes. Many boys perished. They were asked to come for recruitment and then bombed. The government is still hiding other casualties, said Amina Farah, sobbing as she collapsed into the arms of family members at the hospital. Government officials were not reachable for comment. Army recruit Ahmed Ali, who was struck in the head by shrapnel, told Reuters at the hospital, the place was overcrowded with new recruits and soldiers when the blast occurred. A Somali military officer, Odawar Yusuf Rage, told state media earlier on Tuesday that 10 new recruits had been killed, and 20 others wounded, when a suicide bomber detonated explosives. Additional reporting by Abdi Sheikh, writing by Maggie Fick, editing by Catherine Evans, Timothy Heritage, Alexandra Hudson. Biden says will offer cooperation to worthy adversary Putin. Brussels, June 14, Reuters. U.S. President Joe Biden said his Wednesday meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin would be critical and that he'd offer to Moscow to cooperate on areas of common interest if the Kremlin so chooses. Biden characterized Putin as an adversary, or someone who could be an adversary, as bright and tough. I will make clear to President Putin that there are areas where we can cooperate if he shows, Biden said after a NATO summit in Brussels. If he chooses not to cooperate and acts in the way he has in the past related to cybersecurity and some other activities, we will respond in kind, the US leader said, adding he would make clear where the red lines are to Putin as well. Reporting by Maureen Strauss, Gabriela Buksinska, editing by John Chalmers. US CDC to suspend import of dogs from more than 100 countries over rabies concerns. Washington, June 14, Reuters. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, said on Monday it will temporarily suspend importation of dogs from 113 countries classified as high risk for dog rabies effective July 14. By David Shepardson. The suspension applies to all dogs, including puppies, emotional support dogs, and dogs that traveled out of the United States and returning from high-risk countries. It also includes dogs arriving from other countries if they have been in a high-risk country during the previous 6 months. The CDC said the temporary action is necessary to ensure the health and safety of dogs imported into the United States and to protect the public's health against the reintroduction of canine rabies virus variant, dog rabies, into the United States. Emily Piraxai, a veterinary medical officer at the CDC, told Reuters that over the last year during the COVID pandemic there has been a significant increase in the number of dogs that are being imported and presenting fraudulent or falsified rabies vaccination certificates. The 113 countries include Russia, China, India, Brazil, Peru, Kenya, El Salvador, Guatemala, Belarus, Afghanistan, Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, Jordan, Ecuador, Cuba, Malaysia, Indonesia, Nigeria, and Saudi Arabia, the CDC said. Piraxai also noted that during the COVID-19 pandemic many dog vaccination programs around the world have been suspended or cancelled. She cited a growing number of canine rabies cases in Haiti and Peru as a result of dog vaccination cutbacks. Given the impact that COVID has had on these vaccination programs around the world, we're not really sure what our rabies landscape is going to look like in the future, Piraxai said. The CDC has previously estimated 1.06 million dogs are imported into the United States annually. The CDC estimates the import ban, which it expects to last a year, will affect about 6% of dogs imported. The CDC said because of COVID-19's impact on flight schedules, Dogs denied entry are facing longer wait times to be returned to their country of departure, leading to illness and even death in some cases. Dog rabies has been eliminated from the United States since 2007, but remains prevalent in many countries and kills 59,000 people annually around the world. Those deaths are preventable if vaccinated before onset of symptoms. While dogs in the United States may still become infected by raccoons, skunks or bats, they will not catch dog-specific rabies from another dog. The CDC on an extremely limited basis may grant advanced written approval permitting importation of fully rabies-immunized dogs, 6 months or older, from a high-risk country. Another issue is fraudulent rabies vaccination certifications. Dogs from high-risk countries cannot enter the United States until they are 16 weeks old and must be vaccinated. There are few places to properly house dogs denied entry to the United States. The CDC has just one quarantine facility at New York's JFK Airport for dogs, and the lack of facilities has resulted in unsafe conditions for airport workers and for dogs, Karacsay said. Some of them have been housed in airline cargo warehouses for prolonged periods of time, leading to illness and in some instances death of the dogs, Karacsay said. We want people to be able to import dogs, but want them to do it safely. Other countries like Australia, New Zealand and members of the European Union that have also eliminated dog rabies have significantly greater testing, screening and quarantine requirements than the United States, the CDC said. Reporting by David Shepardson, editing by Jonathan Otis. Wimbledon singles finals to have full capacity crowds. London, June 14, Reuters. This year's Wimbledon men's and women's singles finals will be played with full crowds in attendance on Centre Court, the All England Club said on Monday. They will be the first outdoor sporting events in the United Kingdom to have capacity crowds since the start of the coronavirus pandemic last year. The move comes despite British Prime Minister Boris Johnson's announcement on Monday that the final stage of easing lockdown restrictions was being delayed to July 19. We are pleased to have worked closely with the government, public health bodies, and our local authority in Merton, to confirm that the Championships 2021 will begin on Monday the 28th of June with 50% capacity across the grounds, building to full capacity crowds of 15,000 on Centre Court for the finals weekend, the All England Club said. Wimbledon was cancelled last year for the first time since the Second World War because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Reporting by Martin Herman, editing by Ed Osmond. Boris Johnson delays end of England COVID lockdown as cases surge. Prime Minister Boris Johnson pushed back his plan to lift England's coronavirus restrictions for at least another 4 weeks to try to prevent thousands more deaths and a surge in hospitalizations. By Emily Ashton, Alex Morales, and Joe Mays. June 14, 2021, 7:15 p.m., updated on June 14, 2021, 8:29 p.m. Word count, 837. The government was forced to act after modeling showed hospital admissions could reach similar levels to the pandemic's first wave of infections in spring 2020, a peak of 3,099 a day, if Johnson stuck to his schedule to end social distancing rules on June 21. In a televised press conference Monday, Johnson said he had no choice but to delay his plan until July 19 to allow more people to get their second vaccine dose. But he said he is pretty confident he will not have to postpone again. The objective of this short delay is to use these valuable, crucial weeks to save thousands of lives that would otherwise be lost, I'm afraid, by vaccinating millions more people as fast as we can, he said. The government is expected to put the delay to a debate and vote on Wednesday in Parliament, where Johnson is likely to face anger from Conservative colleagues for backtracking on what they dubbed Freedom Day. If you can't lift restrictions at the height of summer, and we are in the height of summer, then you almost certainly are looking at these restrictions persisting and tightening into the autumn and winter, influential Tory MP Charles Walker told BBC Radio ahead of the announcement. I just have an overwhelming sense of pessimism now. Johnson had initially planned to drop all legal limits on social contact this month, in the final step of his roadmap out of lockdown. That would have meant nightclubs reopening, people lining up at the bar again, full stadiums and big conferences back in the diaries. There was a reprieve for weddings, The 30-person limit will be lifted to allow an unlimited number of guests, as long as there is no dancing and social distancing is respected. Variant risk. The government will review the data again on June 28, with the possibility of easing restrictions on July 5 if it looks better than expected, but this is considered unlikely. COVID cases have been rising rapidly, fueled by the highly transmissible Delta variant first identified in India. It's now dominant in Britain. Infections in England are growing 64% every week nationally, Johnson said, and in around a third of the country they are doubling every week. That's pushing up hospital admissions by 50% week on week, and by 61% in northwest England. The emergence of the Delta variant has forced a change in thinking on the vaccine rollout, which previously prioritized first doses to protect the most number of people as fast as possible. Vaccine rethink. But data show the importance of the second dose against the new strain, with a single shot offering just 33% protection compared with 50% against the previously dominant Alpha variant, according to Public Health England. New analysis from PHE released Monday found that 2 doses of Pfizer-BioNTech offer 96% protection against hospitalization, and 92% for the Oxford University AstraZeneca shot. The vaccines are spectacularly more effective than we ever dared hope, said Patrick Vallance, the government's chief scientific advisor. UK's Johnson faces lockdown dilemma as COVID cases rise. Almost 57% of all UK adults have received 2 vaccine doses, leaving more than 4 in 10 without maximum protection. The government aims to fully vaccinate 2/3 of all adults by the time restrictions are lifted on July 19. Faster rollout. To speed the vaccine rollout, the interval between shots for people aged over 40 will also be reduced from 12 weeks to 8 weeks. All over 40s who had a first dose by mid-May will be offered their second dose by the week starting July 19, Johnson's office said. Everyone over the age of 50 or with an underlying health condition, plus caregivers and health workers, will also be offered a second dose by that date, and all over 18s will be offered a first dose. With businesses calling for rules to be eased, the government said there will be no restriction on guest numbers at funeral receptions known as wakes. But social distancing rules will apply. There will be no change in financial support for businesses hit by lockdown measures, Johnson's official spokesman, Max Blaine, told reporters. At the budget we deliberately extended most support well into the autumn, acknowledging there could be uncertainty over the path of the virus, he said. Chancellor of the Exchequer Rishi Sunak's flagship job support programme, paying as much as 80% of the wages of furloughed workers, runs until the end of September. It's set to taper, though, with employers meeting 10% of the wages in July, and 20% in August and September. There are many businesses that need to move beyond social distancing, Johnson said, adding that he is yearning to be able to allow that by July 19. Fighting this virus, you've got to learn to be cautious. Updates with latest COVID figures, Johnson comment from fourth paragraph. 2021 Bloomberg LP.